Support for this program is provided by the Women's Hospital, providing a complete range of healthcare services to women and infants. More information available at deaconess.com/the Women's Hospital. Toyota Indiana, Pump It Up Evansville, and Gigi's Cupcakes.
Stay-at-home mom would do...
What do they do all day?
A lot more than I do, probably, every day. Take care of the children, feed them, clothe them, bathe them, probably several times a day.
What do they do all day?
Well, I presume that they take care of their kids. I mean, stay-at-home moms.
Right.
It's defined by how you've named it, and so I presume that's what they do.
I think they actually probably have the busiest job in the world because they're responsible for how their kids grow up and their values and how they spend their time, which is going to affect them for the rest of their lives.
How important do you think it is that a mom would stay home?
I think it's pretty important. My children, my wives, I was married a couple times, and they both stayed home with my kids, and that was pretty important to me, so I think it's a good thing.
It was wonderful having a stay-at-home mom, you know. You just got to spend so much time, and we'd do art projects together, and we'd go shopping, you know, have little girls' days, and so it was really fun to have a stay-at-home mom as a kid.
I think we can really appreciate the fact that it's helping keep the family glued together, whether that's small children or teenagers or those that are in college, and managing the household.
She was always there, and I mean, she's one of the wisest women I know, and so hopefully I picked up on some of that being around her as opposed to around someone like in a daycare or somewhere like that, which obviously moms that need those services appreciate them, but having my mom specifically nurture me.
I never had to think that she wasn't there, so she was always there for everything.
We've talked to a lot of people today about their perspectives of a mother and what is a mother in terms of working or staying at home. And this is a really big topic. Some people believe that staying at home is really important, and some women have expressed that they stayed at home during the beginning years of their kids' life and how pivotal that was. And there's a lot of women out there that are working and that love to work, and you know, we're really interested in exposing and exploring this dichotomy of these two worlds.
Hi, my name is Mandy. I am a working mom. I have a couple of jobs. I am a full-time mom. I have a full-time job at SWRCA as a social worker. I also teach part-time at the Y. I teach a few Zumba classes a week. And then just with juggling schedules and juggling work and being a mom, my number one thing that I feel the guiltiest about is I spread myself so thin that I feel like I can't give 100% to being a mom, to being a friend, to being a wife. And when I prioritize, I typically put my friends at the bottom of the list, and so I feel like probably the worst friend ever. A lot of the time I feel that way. I feel like I always telling my friends no and different things, and I just, that's probably what I would say is the hardest thing for me.
I don't know what people think we're not getting done, because we have to get it done, so we find the time to do it. You know, my kids still do their homework. I still get groceries. They're eating. They're not starving. I don't know what it is. I think it's kind of a mystery.
I talked to a woman a couple of months ago, and she said that she has a coworker that cries a lot at work because she wants to be home, and that makes me sad, you know, because it's like, you know, I think a lot of women want what's kind of on the other side, you know, and I wonder sometimes if she were home with her kids, if she'd even like it, you know, I mean, who knows?
I do like working. I mean, there's aspects of staying at home that I miss. I kind of had, You know, I didn't have to go back to work until the kids went into school, which was nice. I was at home when they were younger, which, you know, makes a big difference. I did work for a little bit when they were younger, particularly before my 2 youngest were born. And it was very difficult. It actually strained my husband's and I's marriage because he had to take up so much more work.
That was tough. You know, I was used to kind of working from home in many ways and having her there and not having to worry about helping with laundry or helping with the house or kind of some of those more traditional type things that, you know, I just got accustomed to not having to do. And now that she's, you know, working and has been for almost a year now, I've had to pick up on laundry and I've kind of learned to cook some things, you know, in a pinch, or, I will be working and it's quiet. I'm not used to that, although I'm not complaining about that either.
But I'll be honest, I liked that getting away and being myself without having kids over me, all over me. So I could come home, be mom, but then have that breather of going to work and getting to be an adult. And even though they're in school, you know, I still feel guilty because there's those times, you know, when I feel like, you know, if I forget something at their school or forget that they needed lunch money, I always blame it on I'm working. But, you know, even when I stayed home, there was those times. And so I think that we just, as moms, make ourselves feel guilty about every little thing, no matter what. And it could be not even the right reason that we feel guilty. But
it's been crazy busy at work this week. Huge deadline, lots of money on the line, have to get a document out on Monday. So I've been working lots of extra hours. So of course today when I have to get a lot of stuff done, I get a text message from my boy's daycare and one of the twins throwing up. Projectile vomiting all over his brother, all over the playroom, super gross. So now, because of the deadline, I can't go home and be with my boys who are sick. I'm stuck here. And thankfully, my husband's home with them. I'm hurt, stressed out, and worried because I hate for them to be sick. And now I get to leave and go home and see them be upset because I haven't been there today. And it sucks. But I love my job. I love my husband. I love my family. It's just hard.
you know, we constantly criticize every move we make and how it's going to affect our children. Whenever I have to go pick them up from school and I can't go straight home with them, I'm like, oh gosh, they're not getting their outdoor time and they're not going to get to go home right away. They have to come here, you know, to pump it up with me for a little bit and so I can finish up my work or whatever. And so I'm constantly criticizing myself. But I did that when I stayed at home too. You know, it's just never a win-win situation. Us moms are critical no matter what we're doing. We constantly second guess our decisions, period, especially with our kids. You know, you weren't a mom before, you know? So you know how it was like before being a mom, and you kind of feel like you've lost some of that. And that is a really hard thing to accept because you do feel so guilty. You're like, oh, I'm a mom now and it should be always about my kids and I should always, you know, think about them and not about myself. And you think you're being selfish.
The day that Brooke and I were on Main Street asking people questions was a really rough day for me. You know, all these people were talking about how they stayed at home and they were nurturing their children. And the one woman said, oh, stay-at-home moms are so important and they're just, you know, the heartbeat of, you know, their kids whenever they're young, and it's just pivotal. And then one of the guys said, you know, my wife stayed at home with her kids and it was so important and how important that was to them. And I just, like, each person that was saying those things, I just got a lump in my throat.
and then the next person I just got a lump in my throat, and I just started feeling like I was a bad mom because I'm not doing those things. And not that I'm not even doing it, it's that I don't want to do it. I love my kids. I love them. I adore them. I think they are, they're God's gift to me, but I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom. I want to work, and I love to work. And it was like every time I heard that, I felt guilt. Like, why can't I like that? Why can't I want to do that? And I am so grateful for that day. Brick and I got in the car, and I just broke down. I just started bawling, and he's just like looking at me, and I thought, if this man turns this camera on me, I'm gonna freak out. Because it was just this really, it was a moment that I personally needed, because I had kind of hit a wall that I had been struggling with, staying at home and working, and I wasn't really able to deal with it. And it was like time, like my emotions had gotten so deep, and I was so upset that I just broke down, and it forced me to kind of deal with the emotions that I was having. It's not easy, and the guilt is really raging through me, or it was, because I chose to work. It's not like I said I have to work or I have to stay at home. Like, I could do either of those, and I choose to work. I choose to not be home with my children because I want to do something else. I love to work. I feel like I'm good at it. I feel like I'm the best version of myself. I'm a better wife and mom and person of spiritual fitness. Like, I think I am better when I am working. It's better for our marriage, I think. And I felt bad, like a bad mom. Like, we're supposed to be at home with our kids. And it's just not true. And you know what? Like, I had to get to a point where I had to accept who I am as a person, and just accept that that's what I like, and this is who I am. And you know what? Because I'm not home with my kids 8 to 5 doesn't mean I'm not a nurturing and wonderful mother, because I am. Like, I really am. And I know it. And that's the thing. I know that I'm a really great mom. So working doesn't make me a better or worse mom. It just makes me me. Like, this is who I am. And it took me a while to get there, to accept it. So that's it.
It's just a little after 5 when I normally strive to get up. My husband has already left work, and I'm going to try to get dressed and ready before the 3 boys start needing to wake up. If I can manage that, I try to spend that time in quiet prayer and thoughtfulness to get my day started on the right foot. And we'll see what this morning brings.
Well, the quiet mornings didn't last real long. Nicholas decided to get up and start eating breakfast with me. Didn't you, buddy? Yeah. So we're going to spend the morning together.
There was balancing when I had to stay at home, and there was balancing now. It's just a different type of balance. And it's different per family, too. Me as a working mom, my balance is going to be even different from another working mom. So this whole versus the stay-at-home versus working mom is funny to me, because every mom is different. Even if it's 2 working moms, you're going to see a completely different balance from both of them, because they have a completely different family, they have a completely different career, they have a completely different routine. So it kills me, this stay-at-home mom versus working mom, because there's no right answer, ever.
Yeah, I think that balance is hard. I think that balance is hard for any parent, any working parent, whether it's a mother or a father. I'm not sure I see much difference between that.
I don't think there is balance. I think there's seasons. And you have seasons of, this is when I have to lay my desires down for a few months, years, whatever. And then, I can pick that back up again. And I've seen that in my life.
Had my third child and then got pregnant with my fourth child, and at that point it was not a choice. My daughter was going into kindergarten. I had absolutely no idea how she was going to get to and from school with my work schedule. I had no idea how we were going to afford daycare for a fourth child. So I had no choice at that moment, and it was just taking what we had and trying to make the best out of it.
I did work part-time in my home. I did radio promotion out of my home, so I was calling radio stations and changing diapers in between times, and it's hard, but I was glad to have that time with my kids.
We have that bond with them, and that is our job, to nurture them, to get them to being an adult. We are their guide to being an adult, to growing up, and you want to make sure they come out as a great, strong individual. And I think there's a lot of pressure from society. There's a lot of stigmas. There's a lot of judging. You think, you second guess everything you do. Oh, I better not have them watch that video game or do that video game for too long, because people are going to think I'm a bad mom for letting them do that long. Or I better have a nutritious meal because people are going to look at it and go, why aren't you feeding your child vegetables?
There's many times where things just don't get done because there aren't enough hours in the day. She works all day and then she comes home, takes care of the kids at night. And then when I'm on the road traveling, it's even harder because now she has to do everything that she does plus the things I do with morning routines and things like that. So I think it's one of those things that we don't define the role. We just have the things that need to be done and we just do them.
Work outside the home, we have to do all that stuff in the evening. All the grocery shopping and the some of the things that maybe a stay-at-home mom could do during the day. But I'm fortunate that I have a flexible, work full-time, but I have a flexible job. The people that I work with they allow me to do what I need to do with my kids. And I know that not every woman has that. So I'm pretty lucky.
I honestly envisioned myself to never have kids, to be honest. I was the oldest of 4. So I was like, I'm never having kids.
So Brandon is a consultant and he travels around. Sometimes he's gone for a week or a few days and then he's back home. And Ashley, she was a stay-at-home mom and they recently purchased Pump It Up. And so she's completely the managing partner of that business, and they recently purchased Gigi's Cupcakes. So, she was a stay-at-home mom and now she is running 2 businesses, and that is crazy. I mean, she is incredibly busy, and I think that the 2 of them have figured out how to do this in a way that is, good for their family and balances their life.
Getting into business was interesting for us because it was the one thing we both wanted to do. I always knew he would be some type of entrepreneur, but it was also my personality. So he was happy that finally he could share something with me.
Yeah, it's a tremendous thing to watch, because she always took pride in the house and the kids and kind of the stay-at-home mom side of her. She took a lot of pride in. But then when she started working, it was kind of like, whoa. I didn't realize what she was capable of. And truthfully, there's things she doesn't even need me to really do. Like, I always thought, oh, she's going to need me there. Like, I'm going to need to be there. But then I realized, no, she's got this. And, I kind of just let her do what she needs to do now.
If I was the breadwinner, I think he would eventually accept it. It's great because we work fantastic as a team. It's interesting because I never thought we would work as great of a team in business, but he has his strengths and I have my strengths, and they're completely different from each other, and that makes it's very dynamic.
I would say that I'm more of the fixer. Like, I go and if things aren't going well, then I come in and kind of put the pieces back together, or I'm trying to think of a good way to explain that. And she's more of the sensible one.
I'm the one that goes behind everything, and it works. I'm not trying to diss it or anything. Brandon goes. And I'm the one just picking up the pieces. Going, okay, if we're going, he gets this idea, and I'm like, okay, I go along for the ride and make it work somehow.
I tend to have wild fantasy worlds that I live in, and I kind of I act on those, and she sometimes is there to go, wait, no, that's not a good idea. But if it's something I'm passionate about, we tend to do it. And if there's something she's really passionate about, then I try to also have that same flexibility with her.
But when I look back at things that, at first I was like, what are you thinking? You're crazy. And I look back now and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad we did that. I'm so glad you had that idea.
I love and hate the very same things about her. I love that she's independent, that she's strong-willed, that she really doesn't need me to function as a person. I also hate that she's independent, strong-willed, and doesn't need me as a person because, when she is strong-willed about something, she doesn't always come and just kind of hug me and say it's going to be okay. She says, hey, we're going to do this, and this is how we're going to do it, and I'm just going to do it this way.
Do you like coming to Pump It Up after school? Why?
Can I get a snack?
You do? What's your snack today?
This and some strawberries.
I have my business time, and I have to put my time into the business. And then I make sure that when I am with my kids, I'm putting the time into my kids, and everything else falls short. So the biggest challenge for me is, okay, when am I going to go get groceries? Fitting it in. Usually it's like whenever I'm picking up the kids, we just run to the grocery store really quick because it's right there, and grab groceries. Or I'll be leaving Pump It Up and it's on the way and we just grab what we need. I've noticed that's the biggest thing for us is we've had to make more smaller trips because I don't have 2 hours to grocery shop. So we run in. And it's nice that my kids are older because they can run in with me.
Pablo is probably waiting for you.
Listen. You guys are going to go play so I can get some work done.
I think that's the biggest stress of being working is you can't put that 100% concentration on them at all times, and you have to rely on them to be somewhat sufficient. I'll be talking to a customer and have a kid come up and start talking to me, and I'm like, give me 1 second, I will be with you. And I have to really let them know that I'm not ignoring them and that I will be with them, but they're gonna have to wait a minute. But yeah, there's a lot of, or, I'll be doing something and I hear them getting in, back in the break room, getting into food they're not supposed to, or doing something they're not supposed to, and I have to go and get onto them. And a lot of times, if if I have an interview, I kind of just rely on them to do their own thing and just be good. I just ask them, please just behave. I just need you to behave. And they don't always. They're very mischievous. And I try to make my time very fast here. We like to be in and out because if they're here long, they get very crazy and the employees get frustrated with them, and I'm like, we're gonna be here a very short time. Let's just get what I need to get done and get out.
So that work-life balance didn't exist when we first took over the business. It was every day, every week we were here. Starting actually about 2 months before we even purchased the business, we were in the store every weekend. We were dropping our kids off, and all summer we had a full-time nanny throughout the week, and then they went somewhere on the weekend, so we didn't see our children. That went on until about the time that school kicked back in session, and we just literally looked at each other and said, we're neglecting our family. Like, it's not worth it anymore. A very tough thing to do, to tell yourself you don't have time for one or the other. But obviously the answer was clear. We pulled away from Pump It Up, hired more staff, realigned things, and made the family the priority to where cell phones and computers just got turned off on the weekends, and we didn't open them. The employees in many ways thought we just stopped caring. But we had to explain to them that just because we bought the store and we inherited a new family, we still have to worry about our kids at home.
this conversation is continuing and it's evolving. You know, when I was a kid, my mom worked, and but some of my friends' moms did and some didn't. But back in the 60s and 70s, this would have been a totally different conversation. But moms are changing. Women are going to college. They feel so compelled to get out in the workforce, and they may work forever, and some may not. But these women just want to feel like they're making the right decision, and they are, because it's their decision, but we just give ourselves such a hard time on the decision that we make.
I mean, for ages and ages, the mom was the sole, not provider, not breadwinner, but the sole nurturer, the person who was with the kids and raising the kids. And everything's shifted now, but that stigma's there.
We all had stay-at-home moms, and we wanted to do something else. We wanted to do, what you always have, those generational shifts, and so us rebelling against the stay-at-home mom trend at that time, and being career women, I think speaks a lot to our generation. And
They're wanting to work. They're wanting to be in a very secure, stable place before they even think about kids. I have friends that they just know they're not going to have kids at this point. They know that they are where they're at.
I've always kind of been a career person, so, but you can do both, I think. I think you can still give your children the attention that they need, but also have a full-time career as well. So I like to think that you can have the best of both worlds.
I consider myself pretty ambitious, so I kind of want a career, but at the same time, I just appreciate what my mom did so much, and so I would want to be there for my kids, I think. But I'm a long way from making that decision, so we'll see when we get there.
And that's okay, right? It is okay. That realization for me was what made everything okay when I stayed at home, because I knew it was not going to be forever. So I made the best of it, and I looked at it in a different view. Okay, I'm gonna really enjoy this time and take this time to be with my kids, because I know it's not what I'm always going to do.
Support for this program is provided by the Women's Hospital, providing a complete range of healthcare services to women and infants. More information available at deaconess.com/the Women's Hospital.
Toyota Indiana, Pump It Up Evansville, and Gigi's Cupcakes.